First one is a full locust. So this is a really good ab exercise. We're going to work on lifting your legs away from the ground, using your core strength to hold your legs away from the ground. So arms come along your sides, palms face down. Work on lifting your legs away from the ground. Start by just pressing down through your right leg and lifting one leg at a time. So I'm pressing down through the top of my right toes, lifting my left leg up, feeling that in the hip and in my core, and then releasing down. Switching sides, pressing the top of your left foot into the ground, pointing the right toes back, lifting the thigh. Internal rotation to your thigh, so the kneecap is facing the ground. And then release down, and now both legs. So lift the legs up just a little bit at first, maybe just hovering off the ground. Make your legs as long as possible. So point your toes back, length, length, length. Use your hip strength to lift your thighs away from the ground. Keep the legs locked out. Now lift your belly button to your lower back to lift your belly button away from the ground, and use your core to lift. So you're using your core engagement to protect your spine. That's why the core is so important in a back bend. Lift your chest a little bit higher, lengthen your legs a little more. See if you can lift your hips a little bit more. 10 seconds. Point the toes even more, lift a little higher. 5 seconds. Look forward. 3, 2, 1, and release. Take a couple breaths on the ground, flat on your chest, a tiny break before we move into our final back bend. And this is a half locust. And you'll find this pose in Bikram yoga. Very challenging, but very good for your core. And what I want you to focus on here is, instead of trying to get your legs as high as possible, I want you to get your legs off the ground and extend as much as you can. Okay, so we're using the core to lift and the core to hold a static position, not just trying to lift your leg as high as you can with explosiveness, but using strength and stability to lift the legs up. So hands go down, and this might be a little uncomfortable, but your hands are going to go down, palms flat on the ground, under your body. Pinkies touch one another. Elbows coming in toward one another. They might not actually touch, mine don't. And then try to lengthen your chest forward a little bit, and your mouth is going to go straight into the ground to protect your neck. And then from here, one leg at a time. So just like we did before, lift your left leg, point the toes, feel that engagement in the hips and the core, set it down. Lift your right leg up, point the toes, core and hip engagement, length through your legs. Set it down. Now come up on an exhale, inhale. Exhale, come up with control. Point your legs, lengthen your legs, lift your belly button toward your lower back. Keep the strain out of your neck. Keep it focused on your hips and your core. We're going to do 20 seconds here. Lengthen the legs, point and lift. Use your core strength. Remember, it's not about height, it's about stability. 10 seconds left. Lengthen the legs even more. Lift your belly button. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. All right. And then take it back to a child's pose. Take a little break there. A well-deserved break. Give your back a little break. Even by maintaining proper engagement, you might tend to get a little tight in your back in that posture. Just take 2 breaths here. All right, and we continue moving into a boat pose. So this is a really good pose for core strength, again, lower abdominal strength. So before we were doing back bend, we were doing extension with the spine. Now we're going to be doing some neutral and flexed positions of the spine. So we're going to bring the feet in toward your hips, about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away. I want you to squeeze your knees toward one another. So we're going to maintain hip width distant from the feet through the knees and the hips. Your hips don't have a choice. Knees and the feet are hip width distant. Wrap onto your thighs, your knees with your hands. Lift your chest up. Try to lengthen from your pubic bone to your throat, aiming your chest up at the ceiling. Tuck your chin toward your throat, keep your neck nice and long. Squeeze the tops of your hips toward your abs, engage the abs, and then lift your hands away from you, arms out in front of you. First variation here, lift your left hip flexor away from the ground, so lift the left leg off the ground, and just lift up the knee, press the knee toward the ceiling. You're gonna feel the left hip flexor engage. Again, keep length through your torso, and then extend the leg as much as you can while keeping that lift with the hip flexor. Set it down. Lift your right foot off the ground. Press your knee toward the ceiling. Again, keep length through the front of your torso. And then extend your right leg. Couple breaths here. Lift your right leg as high as possible. Keep the focus on your lower abdominal area. Again, that pelvic floor. That's what we want out of this exercise. Set it down. All right, and now both legs. Bring your legs, both legs off the ground. Focus on that lower core engagement. No arching, no rounding through the back. Press down through your hips. Squeeze the tops of your thighs toward your abs. Lift your chest. Bring your arms out in front of you. And then if you can, extend the legs forward. Squeeze your legs together. 2 breaths here. Last bit of bow pose. Squeeze the legs up. And then release. All right, so I'm getting really tired. I hope you are too. So with bow pose, our ultimate goal is a pyramid shape with the legs. So I didn't quite get there because I'm tired, but your goal is to keep that focus on the lower abdominal area, that pelvic floor area, and then lift and extend. All right, now we're gonna do some L-sits. So if you're familiar with L-sits and you know you're good at them and you don't need blocks, don't use blocks. But if you've never done L-sits before, grab a block. You may or may not, but most likely will need one. We're gonna start off on the middle setting of your block. So you're gonna be about 6 inches away from the ground with your hands. And let me turn so you guys can see this better. So, hands are about a little bit wider than shoulder width, or kind of right around shoulder width. I wanna make sure that my chest is open here. So I'm gonna press down through the blocks. I'm gonna pull my shoulders back, squeeze the shoulder blades toward one another, squeeze my elbows in tight, just like I would with a good dip exercise. And then press down through your hands, lift your hips away from the ground, draw your hips back, and then lift your left leg. Now, lift your belly button toward your lower back. You can't see what's going on here, so let's go shirt off for this. You're gonna work on lifting your pelvic floor toward your stomach. So I'm lifting my hips up, so kind of like I'm sucking them in toward to my stomach. So again, pressing down through the blocks, keeping the shoulder or the backs of the shoulders engaged, pulling my hips back, lifting my left leg off the ground, and then lifting my pelvic floor, my lower abs into my stomach. And then go ahead and set down and switch sides. So again, pressing down through the blocks, lifting my hips away from the ground, or pressing my hips away from the ground, and then pulling my hips toward the back, lifting my core in toward my stomach, and then lifting the right leg, using the strength of my right hip to bring that off the ground. As I'm doing this, I want to keep my chest open. So maybe bringing the hips slightly forward, opening up the chest, but still pulling the hips up into the stomach. And then my last variation is both legs off the ground. So blocks are planted. And by the way, a note on grip. So some people will do this with their hands down, just like they would a push-up. And then also people will do this on parallettes, so on bars. So it's okay if your hands are facing straight forward. It's also okay if your hands are facing out. So last one, lifting. So pressing down through the hands, locking out the arms. Now we're gonna pull the hips back, lift your hips in toward your stomach. So again, lower ab engagement, get your shoulder blades engaged, and then lift your legs off the ground, use your hip strength. Try to open the chest, lift even more through the hips, lift the legs, and then slowly setting down. All right, so If you want to work on that a little bit more, feel free. You can work on starting at 10 seconds, building up to 30 seconds, 45, 60 seconds. And if it's too hard for you to do both legs, remember, it's a progression, right? So the first way is by using one leg. So the hips come back, we lift one leg, we work on developing hip strength and core strength there. We switch legs, we do the other side, work on developing hip strength and core strength there. And then we do both sides, pulling the hips back, lifting the legs away from the ground, and then starting to work on pressing the hips forward to build core strength even more. And then once you master that, taking the blocks away and doing it with just the hands. See if I can do this. So again, it's the same, except we don't have the added benefit of the blocks. So it's a lot harder to lift away from the ground. So we're gonna do the same thing, right? So pulling the hips back, lifting one leg. And you'll really feel this in the core now because there's less possibility to cheat. And then other side, pressing down through the hands, lifting the hips, pulling them back, lifting your right leg. And then trying to do both legs. So hips coming back, and then lifting your feet away from the ground. I'm tired. But lifting the feet away from the ground, and then starting to point the toes forward as you bring the hips forward. And that's gonna put you into a more neutral alignment. So, all right guys, that was the workout. That's it. That was core strength for advanced upper body work. Again, crow pose, handstands, forearm stand. And what we're working on here is developing pelvic floor engagement to help stabilize you in those upright or those inverted positions. Again, part of inversion work is being able to hold your body upright. So one part of it is obviously the shoulder mobility and the upper body strength, right? The shoulder stability to be able to hold your upper body upright. But also we need core strength and core stability to be able to hold your legs and hold your torso in place. Otherwise, you just kind of wobble back and forth, and you wouldn't be balancing so much as it would be uncontrolled balancing, right? It'd be random balancing. Whereas when we have that engagement of the core, we don't have to respond to the fluctuations as much. We're using our core to prevent those fluctuations in balance from happening. So if you're watching this from the members area, thank you for being part of the Manful Yoga community. Make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the workout. Let other people know what you thought of the workout. This is part of the upper body program to develop strength and mobility and start doing some advanced inversion work. So if you're watching this from the workout library and you want to check out that program, head on over to the program section to see the full program. If you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, or maybe on the Manful Yoga website on a blog or video preview, I hope you enjoyed this workout. Again, leave a comment, share it, like it if you found it useful. And if you want to get full access to workouts like this and other workout programs, and you would like to maybe you'd like to improve your yoga practice, you're already doing yoga and you want to learn to get better at it, this is a perfect place to do that. So learn more about our 7-day trial that gets you unlimited access to everything, all of the workouts, all the programs, diet, nutrition, tutorials, and that's at manfulyoga.com/7-day-trial. If you're watching this on social media or on the Manful Yoga website, there will be a link in the description below. All right, guys, thanks again for joining me. This was a fun workout. I'm definitely going to be feeling this tomorrow. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for joining me for this workout today. Make sure you subscribe. We put out lots of videos like this on a very regular basis. And to get full access to all of my workouts, my programs, tutorials, and more, head to manfulyoga.com, sign up for a 7-day trial. It's just $1. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.